right, what would you guys like to see me go over? Give me a problem number. 11, absolutely. So on number 11, we need to pick out lines that are parallel, perpendicular, or neither to this given line right here. The given line they've written in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So what's the slope of the line they gave us? 1/8 is our slope. M is the slope. If I want a line to be parallel, what should I be looking for? The equation for a line that is parallel. Same slope. So I'm looking for one that has the exact same slope, the exact same 1/8 as that given equation. Which one, A, B, or C, has the same slope? C. So this would be my parallel one. What about slope that is perpendicular? What should I be looking for, or how do I find it? The reverse, so reciprocal. What else other than reciprocal? Yep, an opposite sign. My slope right here in this given equation was a positive or a negative? Positive. So when I do my perpendicular slope, it's going to need to be a negative. And then I have to take the fraction that they gave me and I have to flip it over. So it was 1/8. Now it becomes what? 8/1. Can I reduce that at all? Does that simplify more? Just to -8. Because -8 divided by 1 on my calculator is just -8. Which one of those equations has a slope of -8? B. So this is my perpendicular one. Part A, or choice A, up at the top, that one has a slope that's reciprocal, but it's not opposite sign. So this would be neither. Because it has to do both. It has to be the reciprocal and it has to be the opposite sign. What else would you guys like to see? Number 9, absolutely. So I want the slope of the line that is parallel and the slope of the line that is perpendicular to the one that goes through those 2 points that they gave me. Parallel means I want what about my slope? Same slope. And perpendicular means what again? Opposite sign and reciprocal. So I'm going to have to figure out what the slope is through the 2 points that they gave me. What is slope again? Like when you're looking at a graph, slope is rise over run. Which axis does the rising? Which axis goes like this? The y. So when I'm finding rise, that's y2 minus y1. Run, that goes left and right. The axis that goes left and right is our x-axis. So to find the run, I do x2 minus x1. So I need to label my points up here. -3, we're going to call that x1. -14 will be y1. 5, that's x2. -2 is y2. So now I can substitute into that slope formula to find the slope here. y2, negative 2, minus y1, y1 was negative 14, over x2, x2 is 5, minus x1, x1 is negative 3. What happens when we subtract a negative like we're doing in both the numerator and the denominator? Becomes addition. So that numerator becomes negative 2 plus 14. And the denominator becomes 5 plus 3. Negative 2 plus 14, that's 12. 5 plus 3, that's 8. Yep, 4 goes into both of those, so we can reduce this by 4. 12 divided by 4 would give me 3, and 8 divided by 4? 2. So here's the slope of the line that passes through those 2 points that they gave me. So what should we put down here for the slope of the parallel line? 3 over 2. We want the same slope. So whatever we got there, we're just going to recopy down here. What about for perpendicular? What do I want again? Negative 2 over 3. We want it to have the opposite sign. And be flipped, be the reciprocal. What else would you guys like to see? Number 3? Is that the same one? Awesome. Number 3. On number 3, they start off by telling me that the measurement of angle 2 is 8x minus 14. Here's angle 2, 8x minus 14. And they also tell me that angle 6 is 2x plus 28. Angle 6 is down here. 2x plus 28. And they give me one more. They tell me about angle 3. Angle 3 is this guy right here. And that's 3y minus 33. And we're supposed to find x and y so that lines B and C are parallel. Which one should we find first, x or y? X. Tell me why you picked that. There's 2 x's. We have 2 angles that have x, so we're going to be able to either add them together and set them equal to 180 if they're supplementary, or set them equal to each other if they're congruent. So let's go look at this angle pair right here. Alternate exterior angles. Because they are congruent or supplementary? They are congruent. So angle 2 is congruent to angle 6, so the measurement of angle 2 is equal to the measurement of angle 6. So I have 8x minus 14 equals 2x plus 28. They're congruent because we wanted to do this so that the lines would be parallel. So that means the angles would have to be congruent. That's what would make the lines parallel. All right, let's solve this for x. Let's group our x's together on one side first. How do I get my x's grouped? Subtract 2x from both sides. So I would have 6x minus 14 equals 28. Add 14 to both sides. What's 28 plus 14? 42. So 6x equals 42. Then we divide both sides by 6. What is 42 divided by 6? 7. So the value for x that makes those lines parallel is 7. We're also supposed to find y. How many angles had y? Just one of them, just this guy right here. We're still going to have to find a relationship between angle 3 and one of the other angles that we know about. So either angle 2 or angle 6. So do we have a name for either of those pairs of angles? Do we have a name for the pair of angles that's 2 and 3? That is a linear pair. And what do we know about linear pair angles? They're supplementary. So that means the measurement of angle 2 plus the measurement of angle 3 equals 180 because they're supplementary. The measurement of angle 2 is 8x minus 14. The measurement of angle 3 was 3y minus 33. What do I do now? I've got an x and a y in the equation. I'm going to be stuck. Substitute the 7 in for x. So I have 8 times 7 minus 14 plus 3y minus 33 equals 180. What is 8 times 7? 56. So 56 minus 14 plus 3y minus 33 equals 180. Are there any like terms over on the left that I should combine together? Negative 33, negative 14, and that positive 56. What is 56 minus 14 minus 33? 9. So I have 3y plus 9 equals 180. Subtract 9 from both sides. I get 3y equals, what's 180 minus 9? 171. And then I divide both sides by 3. 57. So y equals 57. What else would you guys like to see me do? Number 10? Absolutely. Let's go do number 10. Number 10, we're going to do some graphing. Here's the line that they gave me. I don't have to graph this one, but let's do it just for the practice. This minus 6 on the end, that's my y-intercept. That's going to be the first point that I plot from this equation. So right down here at negative 6. The 1/3 is my slope. You guys told me before that slope is rise over run. So this 1 up on top, that's my rise. Tells me I'm going to go up 1. The 3 down on the bottom, that's my run, and it's positive. So that means we're running to the right. We're going to run to the right 3. So from that point that we plotted on the y-axis, from there I'm going to go up 1 and right 3, up 1 and right 3. And that's where I kind of hit the edge of the graph. So I'm going to turn around and try to go backwards, reverse the whole thing. Down 1 and left 3, down 1 and left 3. And then I would grab my straight edge and trace it through those points. So here's the original line that they gave us. All right, now to actually get to part A. In part A, we want to graph a line that is parallel to the one that I just drew, and it has to go through this point. So instead of a y-intercept, I'm going to plot this point, and then we'll use our slope from there. So negative 4, 2 right here. And if I want the line to be parallel, what should my slope be? Same thing, so up 1, right 3. Because whenever we are doing parallel, we want it to be the same slope. So from that yellow dot this time, up 1, right 3, up 1, right 3, up 1, right 3, up 1, right 3. I can take this one backwards from the yellow dot 1, down 1, left 3. Once I get all the dots on there that I can, I'm going to trace through those points with my straight edge. You guys will have a straight edge tomorrow for the test if there's a graphing problem on the test. So there's the parallel line. For part B, I want it to be perpendicular, and I want it to go through a different point. I want it to go through point 1,6 now. So here's point 1,6 right here. What would my perpendicular slope be? Down 3, still to the right 1, because we're going to make it the opposite sign, so negative. We're going to make it the reciprocal, so instead of 1 over 3, it's 3 over 1. We have just one negative sign. So we either put it with the top or we put it with the bottom. You don't put it with both, just with one of them. I almost always choose to put it with my numerator because I like to do it with my rise. So since it's a negative 3 for my rise, that means down 3. Since I did not put it with the denominator, my run is still positive, so right 1. If I had chosen to put it with the denominator instead of the numerator, then I'd go up 3 and left 1, because left would be the negative. Yes. Yes. All right, so from that red dot that I just graphed a moment ago, we're going to go down 3 and to the right 1. 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 And then we'll grab our straight edge and go through those points. So here's our perpendicular line. And when you look really closely right here, where that original line and our perpendicular line are crossing, it should look like a plus sign. It should look like a right angle right there. Sometimes it's helpful if you turn your page a little bit, so because it's slanted and it can be misleading. But if you turn the page so that your parallel lines are kind of lying flat, just going left and right, that perpendicular line should be going straight up and down. Up here, between the parallel and the perpendicular line, you should see the same kind of thing. That should be a right angle there as well. What else would you guys like to see? Number 14, very last problem on the very last page. All right, we start off with this. Angle B is supplementary to angle E. The reason I'm allowed to make that statement is because it was given to me. So let's go find those angles. Here's B, and here's E. And we're told that those are supplementary. Is there anything that is the same size as angle B up there? Angle C, why? They're vertical angles. So angle B is congruent to angle C. By the vertical angle theorem. Well, if B is supplementary to E, and B and C are the same size, then could I swap the B out and put C in its place? So then that would give me that angle C is supplementary to angle E. What would let me trade those out? They're equal in value. Not supplementary angles, but substitution. We're saying they're supplementary, but the reason I'm allowed to say that they're supplementary is because we just swapped out things that are the same size. So that is substitution. So my substitution property. I want to go look at those two angles, C and E. Don't we have a name for that angle pair? They're interior, same side or opposite sides of the transversal? Same side. What word do we use for same side? Consecutive. Same side sometimes is corresponding, but that's when I'm in matching corners. Consecutive interior angles. So when I'm on the same side of the transversal, it's always going to be something that starts with a C. If they're in matching corners, it'll be consecutive and they'll be congruent. Otherwise, they're going to be, matching corners, they're corresponding. I'm getting my own self confused here. Matching corners is corresponding and they'll be congruent. If they're not matching corners, they're either both exterior or they're both interior. Then they'll be consecutive. Consecutive interior or consecutive exterior. If they're consecutive, then they'll be supplementary. These are consecutive interior angles, and we've already established that they're supplementary, right? We used substitution to say that they were supplementary to each other. So because those angles are supplementary, that means that which two lines would have to be parallel? X and Y. So angle. Line X is parallel to line Y by my consecutive interior angles converse. And it's a converse because I just made the statement about lines being parallel. If I'm trying to justify why I'm allowed to say lines are parallel and it's not given, my reason is going to be a converse. If I already know the lines are parallel, then I can say things about angles being congruent or supplementary, and that would just be my theorem. What else would you guys like to see? Number 5, sounds good. Why are we allowed to say that angle 1 is congruent to angle 8? It's given. So here's angle 1, and here's angle 8. What are we supposed to prove? J and K are parallel, and they gave me the last reason, right? It says corresponding angle theorem converse. So that means I need to be looking for corresponding angles. If I look down here, could I find something that's the same size as 8? 5 is the same size as 8. And what do you notice about angle 1 and angle 5. Those are corresponding. You're right, angle 1 and angle 4 are congruent also. But I'm looking for corresponding angles because they use that as that last reason. So I know I need to look for corresponding angles. All right, so let's back up a little bit. You said that 8 and 5 are the same size. Why are we allowed to say that 8 and 5 are the same size? Vertical angles theorem. All right, so if 1 is the same size as 8 and 8 is the same size as 5, what else could I say? 1 is congruent to 5. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 5. Don't even look at the picture. Why would I be allowed to make that statement just given the statements that we made above it? Transitive property. They are corresponding angles, but that's not why I'm allowed to say they're congruent. Remember, I don't know those lines are parallel, or I don't know it yet. We just use the transitive property here. So we've used logic to go from angle 1 is congruent to angle 8. We used vertical angle theorem to say 8 and 5 were the same. We used the transitive property to say that 1 and 5 would then have to be the same size. They're congruent. You guys already told me that these are corresponding angles. And what do I know about those corresponding angles? What did we just say about them? They're congruent. I know they're the same size. So if those two angles are the same size, that automatically means that there are two lines that are parallel. Which two lines would have to be parallel? J and K. So line J is parallel to line K by the corresponding angle theorem. Those are corresponding angles. And it's the converse because we just made a statement about lines being parallel. If we make a statement about lines being parallel, then we've used a converse. Yes. What else would you guys like to see? Number 6, absolutely. All right, on number 6, they tell me that the measurement of angle B is x plus 47 degrees. And they tell me that the measurement of angle E is 3x minus 11 degrees. And I'm supposed to find x. In this picture, this right here would be my transversal because it touches both of those angles, right? Are both of those angles interior angles? Are both of those angles exterior angles? They're not both interior. They're not both exterior. I've got one of each. Are they on the same side of the transversal? Opposite sides. I don't have a name for that. When they're on the same side and one's interior and exterior, that'll put them in matching corners. I have a name for that. That's corresponding. When they're on opposite sides of the transversal, though, I don't have a name for it when one is interior and one is exterior. So I don't have a relationship that I can work with here. But I can find something that's the same size as one of those two. Find something the same size as angle B for me. C. Why are those two congruent? They're vertical angles, so that means C is also x plus 47 degrees. Do I have a name for this angle pair? Consecutive interior angles. We were told the lines were parallel. That's what those little arrowheads on there mean. So since the lines are parallel, are my consecutive interior angles congruent or supplementary? Supplementary. What are the three that we talked about that are supplementary? It's consecutive interior, consecutive exterior, and linear pair. Those are the only three that we have that are supplementary. So since they're supplementary, the measurement of angle B plus the measurement of angle C equals 180. How big is angle B? Or sorry, not B. It's E, not B. My apologies. Measurement of angle E plus the measurement of angle C equals 180. How big was E? My apologies. 3x minus 11. How big is angle C? X plus 47, because it was congruent to angle B, equals 180. I've got some like terms over here on the left. 3x and x. What do I get if I combine those two together? 4x. What about negative 11 and positive 47? What do I get when I combine those? Positive 36. I already have all my x's grouped together on one side, so I'm going to subtract 36 from both sides. So I have 4x equals 144. Divide both sides by 4, and that means x is how big? Thank you. 144 divided by 4, 36. All right, then we have to find angle F and angle H. Well, here's angle F. I need to find something that's the same size as that so that I can sub in and figure it out. What's the same size as F? G, but also angle B. What's the name for this pair right here? Corresponding angles. And corresponding angles are one of my congruent pairs. So angle F is congruent to angle B. So the measurement of angle F is equal to the measurement of angle B. Measurement of angle B was x plus 47. And we just found that x was what? So 36 plus 47 will tell me how big this angle is. What is 36 plus 47? 83. So the measurement of angle F is 83 degrees. For angle H, I want to do the same kind of thing. What angle up here is the same size as H? Angle E. Those are vertical angles. So angle H is congruent to angle E. That means the measurement of angle H is equal to the measurement of angle E. Angle E was 3x minus 11. And we figured out just a moment ago that x is how big? 36. So 3 times 36 minus 11. What is 3 times 36? 108 minus 11. 97. This is 97 degrees. What else would you guys like to see? We've got 8 minutes left. I've got time for 1 or 2, depending on how long they are. What else do we want to see? Number 7. All right. We're supposed to figure out which lines are parallel. I'm going to add just a little bit more, and we're going to say why we're allowed to say those lines are parallel. That's not what the problem's asking for. We're going to go a step further. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 6. What's the transversal that connects those two? C. What are the two lines that that transversal is crossing? A and B, so those would have to be my parallel lines. So A would have to be parallel to B. Now let's figure out why we're allowed to say that. What's the name for angle 2 and angle 6? Close. Alternate interior, because they're on opposite sides of that transversal. So what we just used to be able to say that is the alternate interior angles converse. All right, let's go look at the next pair of angles. It says angle 8 and angle 9 add up to 180, which means they're what kind of angles? Supplementary. What's the transversal that's connecting those two supplementary angles? D. What two lines does D intersect? A and B. So A and B would have to be the parallel ones. What's the name that we have for consecutive interior? So we use the consecutive interior angles converse. All right, next two. Got angle 9 and angle 7. Here's 9. Here's 7. What's the transversal that connects those? D again. What two lines does D intersect? A and B. So A and B would have to be my parallel lines. What's the name that we have? Corresponding. So we're using our corresponding angles theorem converse. All right, last one. Angles 1 and 8. 1 is here, 8 is here. What's the transversal connecting those two? Line A. What two lines is A intersecting? C and D. So C and D would have to be my parallel ones this time. What's the name that we have for this angle pair? Alternate exterior. So the reason we're allowed to say that C and D are parallel is my alternate exterior angles converse. Whenever we are making statements about lines being parallel, we are using a converse. When I know that lines are parallel and I want to talk about angles being congruent, that's when I'm just using the theorem. Bell's going to ring in about 4 minutes. I want to make sure you guys know where to find the extra resources as you study tonight. So the answer key is already posted in Canvas. The videos from all 5 of my sections are going to be going up today as soon as they're done converting. I want to show you where you can find both of those resources.